evidence of it is just how few people ever take their cases to trial. And also the evidence would be, if you look at Judge Ronald Zweibel's statements to the New York Post after the trial, he actually said to a Post reporter that he was extremely angry at only being able to sentence Cecily to 90 days in prison. And he had wanted to go considerably more than that. The head of the police union called for the maximum sentence, and because
what do you think? What do you think their side of it is? I mean, you're a host. You're an observer of society. Be objective. What do you think their side of it is? Why would they be pissed at her? Don't you guys love her? Yes. You guys, she's strong. Why do you think they're especially pissed off about this and would like to make an example?
Well, there's two or three major reasons. The first one is that these people see themselves as, I would say, almost like defenders of God. Not like so much in the sense of God in the sky, but God is in the justice system.
Right.
They see themselves, and anything that's not of God is instantly
and what about,
of the devil in that kind of world.
But let me remind you, what is your guys' chant often? No justice, no peace. No justice. No justice, no peace. If the judge is like, look, I'm not right wing. I'm not. Everybody that I agree with is not right wing. I'm not a right wing, but I do believe that the opposite of you, that a strong central structure, even though it's very imperfect and has to be battled over, is the only way you're going to organize this many millions and millions of people. I don't understand how else it would be organized. I would love it if your Catalonian model worked. But if a judge or a cop or somebody needs to tighten because the thing at large could be wobbling, I think this is the imperfection of civilizing humans. No? I mean, I know you got the opposing view. Tell me why this is not necessary, even when it can have injustices, even when it can have impedance of go ahead. Go. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Well, first off, some sort of organizational method is always going to be necessary. The way I view authority, and the way I've come to view authority over the course of this very long process, and in fact, going to Rikers Island and seeing it was one of the things that helped cement it, is that the authority that we have built up around us, these structures, our court systems, our political systems, our military, our police, I like to think of this as a machine. It is literally, in a lot of ways, and figuratively, a machine that humans have built with their ideas about authority and power and about how society functions. And like any machine that we build, like my computer, which has tons of bugs and lots of annoying problems, it is a work in progress. And so I really think that what the anarchists try to do, and what Occupy Wall Street has been trying to do, is to address some very, very specific bugs in the machine that need to be fixed. I think the problem is that people in positions of authority don't think of it in this kind of, technocratic way. They don't really think of the justice system as something that can be fixed or needs fixing. They think of it as some immutable law.
Look, isn't it really like an old jalopy that you have to keep fixing because you can't empty out prisons, you can't empty out courthouses, you can't cut everything loose? It's like you have to constantly fix an old car. Another brake job, another set of shock absorbers. Look, bottom line is you don't believe in jailing people, right? That wouldn't be in your model. That wouldn't happen on your if things were your way.
This is what I'll say, is that there are sometimes people in society who behave in very antisocial ways. I don't believe that the current system that jails people and the current system that sends police officers onto the street addresses these problems in the best way it could to minimize the amount of antisocial behavior. And when it does happen, I don't feel that it actually treats the people. More or less, it just punishes them.
Well, it's a disciplinary act. I believe discipline is the most you can get. This whole idea of reform school and rehabilitation, it's laudable, but it's a huge expense. It's incredibly imprecise, and you get these people that commit their 8th and 9th crime. All right, let's move on from that, because two big issues before I let you go. That journalist is now going to jail in Egypt, and I'm sure you were on the side of the Twitter revolution in Egypt. I was not. I don't like any of that stuff that went on there. I think everybody's, I guess the better word is dissatisfied, right? There's a poison, toxic feeling. Oh, this guy's no good. So we'll make these simplistic choices, I think, the whole Twitter thing. And now Egypt is up for grabs. Now Egypt is really not doing what it used to do. It used to be much more cooperative. It used to be less of a problem. It's a problem now, and it's huge. So your comment on this guy going, and by the way, we had a very compelling piece of audio earlier. You may not have heard this, but we had it first thing this morning. Do you know the public broadcaster, Margaret, God, what's her name now? I said it, Margaret Warner. Do you know Margaret Warner, the elder anchor on PBS over the course of your childhood?
I'm probably familiar.
You would, absolutely.
Voice, I'd get it,
you got it, right.
With the name.
Okay, well, the guy who went to jail was her secret source one day, and they were all getting shot up, probably by your friends, the revolutionaries with the guns and shooting at them, and this guy got her out of there, and she told the story. It sounded like the man from U.N.C.L.'s girlfriend was hanging out the side of a BMW. It sounded like the transporter with Jason Statham. I couldn't believe it, the story she was telling. That guy's in jail. Oh, that's good. A great Twitter revolution. So where do you stand on all of this, all the wreckage from all the upheaval?
It's interesting because I saw a story, and I don't know if it was true or not, but the pictures looked fairly true. Apparently, there was a win in Iraq a little while ago, if what I saw on the internet was true, for the Communist Party of Iraq. They actually defeated a number of jihadists. And I'm not a Marxist-Leninist in that sense, but this is the thing.
Yeah.
We're seeing all over the world institutions are crumbling, and we're realizing because of the internet and because of how quickly we can communicate, just how rotten and in need of repair our political and social systems are. These machines are breaking. They're not serving us anymore. So what's going to happen
But you know something? Hold on. You see, listen to your syntax even. See, right? Even the way you phrase it is very troubling to 58-year-old ears. You right away, it's not doing, how much of this is like rowing in college, man, if everybody's not in it, pulling on the oar in unison, of course it doesn't work. You can't be a disruptor on one side and then say on the other side, well, geez, it's not working. I mean, you know what I mean? How could it work? How could it ever work now? Now that everybody is screaming,
it was working, people wouldn't feel the need to disrupt.
Oh, please. Oh, okay, Darwin. Hold on? He's on the other line. I think he wants to comment. Come on. See, that's what I got to watch out for. I'm from the Bronx, and a lot of guys who come out of inner city, Cleveland, doesn't matter where. If you've ever been to the inner city, there's just a reality check every once in a while. Every once in a while, people start dropping like flies, and you're like, oh, I get it. It doesn't matter what the idea. It doesn't matter what solution sounds good. It doesn't matter what feels good. It's bing, bang, boom, and it's over. That's the reality of being the peasant, the modern day American peasant.
Yep. Well, and I would agree with you entirely on that. But I think that there's a deeper level that we can analyze this from, and I think that we can build a new society that can address these problems in a much more realistic way. Here's the thing. As these institutions crumble, as the United States stops being the global empire that it is, as the USSR is gone, as we have, in our past, the sort of the twin specters of Stalinism and fascism, and we have this new tool of the internet to go and talk to anybody, and I can, go on the internet and I can find somebody's Twitter and I can call them an asshole. As we do that, that's going to change the way humans think, the way we think about authority, the way we think about each other. And what's very, very important is that as we change, the world must change with us if it doesn't, what ends up happening is that you have these serious problems where people get killed and people get hurt. And unfortunately, what we've got going on right now is that as these things destabilize, there's going to be a Game of Thrones style struggle for power. I mean, you're going to see it all over the world.
Well, so what is it? So what? All right. So wait a second. All right. So the premise there is, this is just gonna now what? Everybody's supposed to wait for everybody to catch up. I don't understand. Why is there no idea left? You sound like we're moving in the direction that this will no longer exist, and that is, well, this is the preferred way. We're all going the preferred way. They formed the League of Nations after World War I. They're going the right way. They brought all these crazy countries together, hated it, say, look, we gotta do this. It was called an armistice. It wasn't voluntary. There really wasn't a voluntary peace off of World War I. Countries still hated each other. They were, bloodlust, and they went right back in it. And Hitler, was the gateway. People couldn't wait to start a fight, either on Hitler's side or against him. So what I'm saying is, why do we have to keep all of a sudden pretending we didn't see the last century? We see how this works. Are we still trying to get drinking water to people, shelter, pharmaceuticals, babies that don't die at 18 months? I thought that was the agenda. How in God's name could disrupting this that we have, tossing this upside down? I don't see how this is going to get these kids fed or get anybody's quality of life improving. Before the recoil from what you guys want would be over, we'd all be long dead. I don't think it would recoil or come back in our lifetime. I mean, disrupting our current system would cause how much pain and suffering? That's your wrap-up question on this topic. How much pain and suffering is the price if we go your way?
Yeah. Well, you're entirely right. And disrupting the system will cause a lot of pain and suffering. And the fact of the matter is that is something that weighs very, very heavily on every anarchist out there. Because that's the thing that really differentiates us from, I guess, Bolsheviks, from people who are, your classic idea of a communist. We care about other people. We really, really care about people having the ability to make these choices themselves.
If I may, which ones? Only your enslaved buddies? Is that what? Are you just liberating your friends? Is that all this is? I mean, who are you worried about? You can't be worried about me. You're going to trample me like a doormat. I'm going to get run over like crazy because I'm with that in between middle class, that amorphous. Everybody thinks we're okay, and everybody's pinching pennies. You know what I mean? It's fragile. There is no superstructure to attack now. If you get one strong wind, this thing's coming down. Nobody's got any money. Everybody is struggling. Everybody's working more hours. People are with their kids less, and they hope that the government's going to give them the in-between. Give me some money for food. Give me some health care. It's insane. To me, it's a spiral down. I don't see it. I don't even think it's recoverable. How much will you pain them to make it fix? To fix it, how much pain? How many years of upheaval from you? Fix it.
Yeah, well, honestly, I don't know. And the thing is it's not my decision.
Well, I'm glad you're in favor of something.
It's not my decision when a revolution happens or if a revolution happens.
But what I'm saying to you is, what do you want? What would you want? But I'm asking, what would you want? If you could call it, what would be the best case? How could you ever help the 300+ million, pushing 400 million Americans on top of the globe? Global poverty, global disenfranchisement, the whole Mitt Romney, the bottom. How would you help the bottom and the rough times for Americans with any plan? If you could have your way, I'm not saying that you have to be right. I'm just asking you, what is it? What do you got? What are you hoping for? Why do all this?
Well, what I think I would do to help the bottom, if I had that kind of power, if people would just immediately do what I told them is...
What if they agreed with you? What if it became viral and they agreed with you? I'm just saying, right, if things went your way, what the hell would you do for food stamps and elderly and inner city and Detroit, Cleveland, Gary, Indiana? I mean, the poorest of the poor. Nobody's got a factory. Nobody's got jobs. Everybody is trying to find a way to get some protein and some water and get through the hot days of summer. What are you going to do with that? What can you do? What would be the outcome that you would want your system to do? How is your, whether it's an insurrection that you have on Saturday, the name of your show, or it's just gradually evolving into this point of view? What is going to do something here to make it work? Or do you have to tear it down? You're just a disruptor, and that's it. It's got to come down.
Mm-hmm.
Which is it?
Well, I think one of the major things is that when you are involved in any kind of negotiation, don't ask for what you want. Always ask for more than what you want and let the opposing party talk you down. That's the big mistake Obama has been making for years and years, if he indeed does it. He asks for exactly what he wants.
All right, forget him.
And then he gets pulled back, and suddenly he's making decisions to the right of Ronald Reagan, which might be the game.
You might have to drop him as a girlfriend, but let's come back to his immediate problem, which I'm sure you have strong feelings on. Okay.
Here's what I would say: the immediate problem is,
but he's got to go to Iraq. He's got to go.
Amount of debt that we have.
Oh, forget that. He's got to hold on.
The huge amount of debt that we have, and the fact that we've got.
Time out. No, it's not the debt. Well, I'm going to ask you. He's got to defend George Bush's war. You cannot let a bunch of people that hate you build up a huge geography. Now they got chemical weapons over the weekend. Now, who knows if they know how to use them yet, but somebody will teach them on the internet, I'm sure. But they got some kind of weapons cache. So what do you want him to do now? Walk away and then get clobbered from behind? The explosion, he'll get his back singed. If he turns his back on Iraq right now, his back will be singed by the blowback. The explosion will be so loud. And the guy said, look out, New York. He says, the guy says, we'll see you in New York. They arrested some guy, and the guy says, don't worry, we'll see you in New York. So everybody in that world knows the reprise of what happened on 9/11 is a big deal to them. That's why that thing happened on 9/11 Libya, because 9/11 is a big day for them. That's their great day, the day Americans hate. So what do you want Obama to do? Turn his back on this and say, well, that's their problem? Or you want him to now have to reverse himself, like many people have to do in life, reverse themselves because the circumstances demand it? What do you say?
I would say that I think the policy of the American empire is not working. And clearly the idea that George W. Bush had of nation building and going in and forcing other nations to accept our way of life and, of course, pay into our companies and get, and accept our domination is not working. We don't have the willpower to do it. We don't have the money to do it. We don't have the time to do it. And the nation doesn't want to do it anymore. So clearly that approach, he cannot go in there and put boots on the ground. If he does, not only are the American people going to go nuts.
But nuts is what? What does nuts mean? If people don't want the right thing, what are you going to do? Lay down your arms and let bad guys come because it's unpopular to stop them? Is that the right move? I mean, honestly, isn't that what Cheney is saying? Cheney is saying, popular or not, weapons of mass destruction or not, mistake, whatever. You can't.
Cheney's been saying that for years.
But what are you going to
believe him before? I don't believe him now.
I understand that, but the point is, just because Cheney says it doesn't make it false. These people hate our guts, and they know better, 11 years, 12 years better than they used to. What do you think they're trying to do? That is what they call themselves. That is what they want to do. So I don't know. To me, I don't. If you turn your back on this, so you would advocate let the self-determination, huh? Self-determination now.
I would advocate that I think someone other than the United States needs to stop them, if indeed it is a problem. I think Iran needs to stop them.
You know what?
The Communist Party of Iraq.
You know what Iran? You know what Iran said? Iran actually told us to get lost. And said maybe they would do something about it if we got lost. If we would get, whoa, that's great for us. Being kicked out by Iran, that's great. That's what's next, man. Do you know how to speak Farsi? I'm already working on my Farsi because I don't
think it's likely that we'll be conquered by Iran anytime soon. But I do think that the United States needs to take a major loss here, because if we double down, we're just going to lose everything that we've put in. I think if we need to fold, we need to admit that we're not the world's police anymore, and that the world does not exist in order to provide us with all of these luxuries. And let this region work out its own internal problems itself. And I'll tell you what, I really think that the meddling in other countries and the enforcement of the American empire is what builds this kind of hate in the first place.
Well, it is, but you know,
activists.
It is a fine line. But if there is a better idea among ideologies, somebody has got to walk this line of leading, which causes irritation, and consensus, for success. It is really a tight wire. I don't think it can be popular and be right. If you just go, what do you guys want to do? People are not going to pick the responsible thing. They're just not. They're species. All right, it's always great to visit with you, man. Sorry we missed on Friday, but we'll have you back again real soon. Congratulations. I want to say a couple of things.
Absolutely. This was a good day.
Yeah. Let me give you some formal plugs now. How can people see your video with Cecily McMillan convicted of striking a police officer when she herself claims she was being attacked and brutalized, sexually attacked, and is in jail at Rikers Island? You sat with this woman. Congratulations, first journalist on camera with her. How does that happen?
You mean how did I get in?
No. How did the public say? How did they see it? I should say. How does it happen? Yeah. How did they go watch your video?
Well, we're currently in post. Matt Sky is actually editing it. He had loaned me one of the cameras to use.
Oh, sweet.
So you really are to blame for this.
Well, you know what? I'll give you some good news. You're going to get great work. Matt is a stellar professional. I've been lucky enough to be edited by him. I've had clips, so you are going to love what he does. All right, awesome. So the minute it releases, we have you back on, and we try to get everybody we know to take a look at your video. Who held the camera, you or a third person?
I set up two cameras, one on me and one on Cecily, and then I also sat down with a voice recorder in there. So, yeah, I had no crew. It was just me. The camera work is not the best, I'll tell you that right off the bat, but you will get to see Cecily. You will get to see and hear her voice from inside Rikers, which is very intense. I'll tell you, I got out of that place, and I was shaken. Both by, what she talked about and also just by seeing the inside of Rikers Penitentiary, which is, I'll say this, those of you who are watching, I was in the all-female area of it. Those of you who are watching Orange is the New Black, the vision of female prison on Orange is the New Black is, after actually seeing it, I really got to say it's almost like rose-colored glasses on that TV show. It's way too friendly.
Yeah, much worse than that. I worked in the Tombs in New York City. 100 Center Street has a jail downstairs where if you're in the building later that day for trial, this is where they hold you. And there were a bunch of teenagers that had murdered a token booth woman by setting the token booth on fire and then standing there and rooting her death on. And they got arrested, and they were the big thing in the New York Post and all back in the day. And I was in the same building with them, and you could feel evil. There is something indescribable. It's hard to capture that in movies and film. You know what I mean? There's something up in there. I don't know what that is.
I don't know. I agree with you. There is definitely a really intense feeling. When I left, I remember I found I was shaking.
Right. You feel scared of something, and they're not coming after you. Just being there is frightening. I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. All right, listen, man. I got to let you go.
I think it might have something to do with the fact that, you've got this place that everyone hates to be in. Because it's not just the prisoners at Rikers that are having problems. I mean, the guards, you can tell the guards hate their jobs and really hate being there, but they put up with it every day. And it seems like just everyone there is depressed and annoyed. It's run down. It's underfunded. They're understaffed. I remember when we walked in to try to find Cecily, they didn't know where she was. And the woman who was in charge of the people coming and going didn't even have a computer to look her up. She had a paper ledger. and I remember just looking at that and then kind of looking at a whole bunch of people that are just going through these motions and not really knowing who's in charge or what's going on. And it's immensely depressing.
It is.
It's a traumatic thing.
I was just going to say, it's an ugly window to look into. Good job finding it. Brent Lengel, Insurrection on Starcom Radio, 10:30 on Saturday mornings live. Visits with us all the time, and shortly he'll release where this video is, his exclusive on-camera interview with a Occupy protester who's now jailed for tangling with the police after she claims she was sexually assaulted by the police officer.
Got to keep the loonies on the pot. The lunatic is in the hall. The lunatic is in the hall. The paper holds their folded faces to the floor. And every day the paper boy brings more.
As soon as I heard this, I related as a paper boy how much I loved my paper route when I was a kid. The paper boy always does have something good, because that's a part of the start of the day, is that paper is physically there. The physical arrival. Someone else has been out in the weather. Someone else could make it that far. It's either 103 degrees or you can't breathe. It's no air conditioning. It's the inner city. It's humid. Or it's 31 below and the wind is kicking your ass and the snow and the sleet. And still, you're the paper boy. I was. I did my deliveries, man. I made my stops because I made 65 cents a customer. Are you kidding? Do you think I was going to leave 65 cents laying on the table? That's big money. When I was financing my drum kit.
You raise the blade